Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever time it might be. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Cho Show Podcast presented by theswaffreport.com. I'm your host, Jonathan Goudeau, aka JG Smooth. You're probably wondering why you're seeing my beautiful face and just not my voice over highlights. Trying something new out here. We're trying something new out. I want to see if this is something maybe more interactive, maybe that we can do during the season when we do the weekly episode. Previously it had only been exclusively on Spotify. Thinking about kind of mixing it up here, doing some in this style. So if you would let me know in the comment section below if you all do like this, want to see more of this. Before we jump into it though, I want to congratulate UCO Wrestling on another national championship there. I think this is the 16th, 17th in school history. Spoiler alert, the episode I teased, the big interview I teased last week, that will be happening tomorrow. Today is Saturday. You are hearing this, seeing this on Sunday. Involves a certain UCO wrestler that may or may not have won a national championship. So if that's the case for those keeping it home, there's two potential guests I'm talking about. So you'll have to wait and see. Probably drop that Wednesday more than likely. So you have to just wait and see on that. And then I also want to congratulate the men's basketball team. Another great season. I know they fell short of their ultimate goal, but again, you just got to be impressed by the job head coach Bob Hoffman has done since his first year taking over the Bronco program. So something I plan now to get more into that next season. It just didn't work this season. However, things have changed behind the scenes now. I should have some more time to actually cover them next season. And hoping that my man Landon, our glorious grade A videographer, hopefully he does too, because he's a great hoop head. And I know he also enjoys doing that, going to the UCO games, et cetera, et cetera. But we are back here because it is our third favorite time of the year, only behind the start of college football season and National Signing Day. We have the start of spring football for the UCO Broncos, entering the second season of the Adam Dorrell era. As we know, last season was a roller coaster. Okay, because you start the season out with a shutout loss, and then you end the season with a lackluster win, but a win nonetheless that got you to your first winning season in 3 years. So I think the goal for me in spring, and I will say the practices are open to the public. I believe that's what Coach Skellinar told me on the latest episode that we have. Um, they're open to the public. I know it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It runs from this coming Monday, the 27th, through April 28th, which is the spring game that is on a Friday. I'm hoping, knocking on wood, that the weather will hold up this year. Last year decided they wanted to have severe thunderstorms and lightning and such. So hopefully the weather holds up and they actually can get the full spring game in. I can make it to that spring game. But the thing I want to see the most out of this team is consistency here, because we know that was a problem last year. Consistency has been a problem not only last year, but really past handful of seasons. So in order for this team to take the next step, because as we get into it here, there is plenty of talent on this team. There's a lot of newcomers added. As a matter of fact, there was one that was I saw last night on Twitter, that they got a defensive back transfer from Southwest Baptist down there in Arkansas. He's from Collinsville. He gave me a follow there the other day, so I do appreciate that. So as you can see, they are still adding talent, even as Coach Skellinar said that they're still looking to add talent. So this roster is far from final. Now, I will say before we fully get into it, the spring roster is currently not up on Broncos Sports, so all I have to go off of is the departures that I'm aware of, and the 2022 roster. So just know players that I mentioned may or may not be there come spring, but it's just all I have to work with, and I have to get this out because obviously it's starting Monday. So we'll get into it here. I will just go position by position, really. I mean, there's only a handful of positions that to me don't have spring storylines that are really, really important. So we're going to go ahead and start, obviously, at the quarterback position here. This is probably this to me is the thing I'm going to watch the most during spring is this quarterback battle between returning starter Stephon Brown, dear friend of the podcast, and Missouri Southern grad transfer Dawson Hurl. Now, you're probably saying to yourself here, well, by golly, shouldn't Steph have earned the starting job given what we've seen last year? Yes, I would agree with the statement. But you also are getting Dawson Hurl, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the conference here, who's not going to just transfer in to ride the bench. Okay, let's be honest here. I think this is a win-win because they're going to push each other, and we saw what happened last year. I said this, and I think it might have been early signing day. I said we look at when Peyton Thompson came in. Okay, we saw Steph elevate his game. Okay, and again, Dawson Hurl, in my opinion, is leaps and bounds better than Peyton Thompson. This is what it is. I can only imagine that competition. Okay, because Dawson Hurl, as you're seeing on the film here, he's an efficient quarterback. He does not wow you, okay? But I said the same thing about Keith Calhoun. Keith Calhoun never really wowed you. Now, he did down the stretch of his senior season. For the most part, he was efficient. He knew where to go with the ball, and he knew the offense. Okay, that's what I'm getting watching Dawson Hurl. Again, we know he's a quality quarterback because what he was able to do, that Missouri Southern team there, the improvements they made with very little around him. Okay, with the weapons UCO has, I'm just saying this to me is going to be a fantastic, fun battle to watch because there really is no losers in this situation. Because say I don't know, say coming out of spring, Dawson's leading the pack. So it's not as if Steph's not going to have a defined role because we know Steph's a playmaker and we've seen what he can do with his legs. Okay, so regardless, you're going to see Steph. I just think this is fantastic. I know Steph was at a quarterback camp. He posted that on his Instagram, so he's already putting into work. I am much more confident in the quarterback position behind Steph this year than I was last year because last year it was unproven. And again, you have to give credit to Coach Goudeau and that staff going out there and getting a guy the caliber of Dawson Hurl. I don't know if people understand the importance. That might be the best signing out of all. And there were some very good signings. But in this conference, okay, in this conference, especially this season now, because I know there's the option to not play Lincoln because they're leaving the conference. To my knowledge, they're still playing Lincoln. It's 11 straight weeks of tough, physical, hard-nosed football. Okay, and again, Steph done a way better job of protecting himself of sliding of going out of bounds. But we know Steph lowers the shoulder. We know Steph tries to run through the entire defense. You just never know what can happen in the course of a season, and it is really reassuring. Okay, it's extremely reassuring to me, and it should be to everybody else that's a UCO fan here now. You have two quarterbacks that have proven they can play at a high level in the conference and win in the conference. So to me, this is a battle I'm dying to watch because it should be really good. It should be really fun. I imagine that those guys will push each other, and it will only benefit the team as a whole. When we're looking at running backs, okay, this is a unit that's really unproven. Now, I'm going under the assumption that the mid-year guys that signed are already on campus. I know a few of them are. So if that is indeed the case, because since Jace is still out, Coach Gardner said he's not going to spring because Jace is still recovering from that ACL. And then obviously we have the departures of Antonio Jr. Smith and Nasir Kemper. So that would just leave Peyton Scott, uh, Jalen Cottrell, Nate Jones, the redshirt out of Clinton, and then Andrew Carney at fullback and Peyton Scott as well. Now, I'm interested in this, number one, because when we talked to Coach Skelenar, he did say they're going to have Peyton Scott play, was it the A or the B back, which is essentially the same position that Andrew Carney plays, which is a fullback. If you know, I've been lobbying for this since the Lincoln game? Since the Lincoln game when he was stonewalling guys, and then they put him at fullback senior day against Central Missouri because Andrew Carney was the main running back, and again he was stonewalling guys. I think that'd be a fantastic move for both Peyton and the team as a whole because, just Peyton's senior year, to my knowledge, right? He's been hurt. It's just not had the career we all have hoped for when he signed out of Sand Springs. This would be a very good way to still get him involved. And I think, because Peyton's a guy. We saw that touchdown run he had against Northeastern State. Okay, Peyton's a guy. I'm telling you, on a 3rd and 1, on a 4th and 1, if they stack that line, you get a fullback dive. He breaks through. He is gone. Okay, there's some potential there. Also, I know they threw the ball to Carney a lot out there too. Peyton Scott is also a good receiving back. I think that that's just a lot that they can do. So I'm really curious to see how Peyton Scott is used. That's something that I would also keep an eye out on. Same for Andrew Carney. I'm really curious to see if he gets some running back touches now because we know he had that 100-yard game again against Central Missouri there on senior night. So my number one at how those two are at how those two are being utilized because I think you could see them being interchangeable. You could see some rotations there. I'm really curious to see how that shakes out. And then second would be the new faces. If Jaden Washington, the home run hitter out of Iowa Central, and Trevon Woolfork, the power back out of NEO by way of Troy, if they are indeed on campus there, I'm dying to see Jaden Washington in a UCO uniform. You know how high I am on Jaden Washington. Again, I said he's the most explosive player I've seen since TJ Roberts. And again, if you were here in 2019, that Pitt State game, you know what TJ Roberts brings to the table. I said Jaden Washington to me reminds me a lot of that. Now he's different because he's not as big as TJ, but as far as the home run ability, as far as offering something in the run and the pass game and the return game as well. That's just a guy I'm just really excited to see. And then Trayvon Woolfork as well. He's 220. He's a power back that they were really lacking last year. Outside of Jace, really didn't have that true power back. Trayvon, I did see some film of him. He's solid. He's solid. I mean, he runs low with good leverage for a 6'4", 220-pound back. He's got good speed for a running back of his size. I think this is a guy again, that comes in, fills an immediate need because, again, we just don't know with Jace, unfortunately, coming off that ACL here, what he's going to be looking like. So, number two would be seeing those guys as well as Nate Jones, the redshirt freshman out of Clinton. If I recall correctly, now because I've watched a lot of film since that time, he was very shifted. I felt like he was more quick than he was fast. But I'm really curious to see how those new faces are looking as well. So that would be number two on the list for running backs behind how Peyton Scott and Carney is utilized. Would be how the new faces in that backfield are looking. Then turning to the receiving core. Now, again, have to give credit to Coach James Curley. I went out there. There was a lack of explosive plays last season. It is what it is. Okay, most of that were explosive was a result of Steph doing some otherworldly thing. Okay, so we know in order for them to improve on the 22 points per game, again, if we just get 28 points a game, I feel like this is a playoff caliber team. If we went out in early signing day, he got some playmakers, Danny Armstead, Central Arkansas transfer, Tariq Logan, Darius Melton, the former UCF Golden Knight, and then Malachi Gatewood. Uh, what are they? Norman North Tigers? No. What is Norman North? Whatever. From Norman North. Okay. From Norman North. Now, I think I know Danny's there. Okay. I've seen some practice clips already of Danny. I'm not gonna lie to you here. It's looking really good. Okay, it's looking really good. Yeah, you got to factor in too when we talked to Jacob Delso. I know he said that Terrell Davis, the now sophomore, I think that's on the right now sophomore out of Choctaw, is really in line for a breakout season. We saw flashes of that last year. It just was inconsistent. I feel like there'd be times where you're just like, all right, Terrell Davis turning a corner, and then we take a step back, and then we drop the open passes. So if that is the case, because I'm still high on this man, if you recall, when he signed out of Choctaw, I said this is a spitting image of Lillian Curry, and we all know how good Lillian Curry was in the use of uniform. For those that are new, Willie Curry was out of Guthrie. Was probably a part of the best receiving core in school history, to be honest with you, there between Josh Crockett, who spent time in 3 pro leagues, is now playing in the indoor football league for the Tulsa Oilers. JT Looper, who led every level of football in receiving. Elliott Curry was the 3rd receiver, and Elliott Curry ended up going to Henderson State, becoming, I think, a 2-time All-American and got a shot with the New York Giants. So factor in that the 3rd receiver still became a multi-time All-American. So this is by far the best receiving core, in my opinion, since that time, because you got Terrell, you've got Jacob Delso back. We talked to Jacob Delso. We'll link the interview up above. He's working on slimming down, on getting in better shape. He felt like he got caught too many times last year, that he played too heavy. I know he has something to prove as well. And then we have again, this is a guy I'm really high on, Madison Ridgeway, the now junior transfer from Iowa Central. He was hurt last year, but I'm telling you, you put on that Fort Hays tape, put on the Kearney tape. I think he had a good game against Central Missouri too. But I'm telling you, you saw why I was hyped on the man after watching that tape, because he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the physicality there. I'm thinking if Madison's healthy, I really want to see him fully incorporated in this offense, because you look at the top 3 returning of him, Delso, and Terrell Davis, right? Then you're adding in now Danny Armstead, who the catches this man pulls off that I've seen on both the film he had when he was at Central Arkansas and the few clips I saw of the practice film. I'm telling you, this could be a different cat. Okay, this could be a different cat. Tariq Logan, Darius Melton, those guys were physical receivers as well. And then Malachi Gatewood, to me, here might be the most underrated addition, because we know, and it's unfortunate, our dear friend, Tanama Marzell the fourth, has since graduated. We need somebody to fill that possession, sure-handed type role that Johnny had. Again, I feel like unsung hero here, willing to do the little stuff. To me, that is what Malachi brings to the table. I got the same vibes. They're similar size. I think Malachi's more of a short to intermediate guy. I think he's willing to go across the middle, willing to make a tough catch, which is what you do need. And it should be open, because you got a lot of field stretchers that we just mentioned here. So we do need somebody underneath, and I think Malachi can be that guy as well. And then I'm also curious to see about Kevion Williams, the now sophomore out of Westmore, to see how he's utilized more, because I know Diego Richards and Javion Dangerfield are no longer on the team. That should open up more opportunities for Kavion, since Diego and Dangerfield were in a similar mold. I'm still high on Kavion, because that Westward tape again is just fantastic. So I'm really hoping to see some growth out of him, and I'm looking forward to seeing Jalen Slim Reed out of Ardmore, who I said reminded me a lot of Mikael Hall. I'm really curious to see how those two look, because I really feel like this receiving core, if they get chemistry down, especially with the tight end unit, the way Oscar Hammond, if he can continue that trend, avoid that sophomore slump, there's no reason why, from a skill position standpoint, this team cannot average at least 4 touchdowns a game. Like, there just should not be an excuse, unless the next position group here, the offensive line, continues to have struggles. Okay, this is, call it what it is. Okay, because no matter how good a skill positions you have, if the line does not hold up, it's not going to matter. And I felt like the offensive line started off very bad. Let's call it what it is. It was not good early in the season. They did improve. Okay, I give them credit. They did improve. down the stretch somewhat, and then again it kind of got a little inconsistent there towards the end. I know that was a new group with I think the only returning starters from the previous season, I believe, was just Lane Grantham and Noah Dobson, I think. So I know that was a new group. I know they rotating early on and often. I think now it should be it should be vastly improved because you got Lane Grantham back again, one of the better centers in the conference. You've got Noah Dobson coming off an honorable mention all conference season. A season I thought, to be honest, was disappointing. I was because based off the true freshman season that he had in 2021, I was expecting better from Noah. Um, so we'll see if he can kind of shake off that sophomore slump there. And then you've got Matt Gardner out of sophomore, and then Walker Peck. He played some at guard and center as a true freshman out of Norman North. He should be stronger now with the year in the weight room. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to seeing the red shirts. Reese Tremble out of Mustang. I was very high on him. Nasty physical guy. Shout out there to their offensive line coach, former history teacher Lynn Hepner down there in Mustang doing great things. And then there's also Gabe Grazer, too, that redshirted, was another physical guy. So I'm curious to see the development there. I know when we talked to Coach Doyle last year, he mentioned he felt like they were lacking in the weight room. So that might also play a part too. Now you would have a full year of his weight program. I know he mentioned they have made great strides. Hopefully, they have made even more strides because that would help too. And then you got to also have to look at two here. The one another marquee transfer brought in Swasu transfer Miles Moye or Moy. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. He will be starting. Okay, he will be starting. There's no I have that tape. The fact that he's proven he could be a dominant lineman at the Division II level there. Uh, Gardner was the other tackle outside of Noah Dobson. I can't see Noah Dobson not starting. I really can't. So but there's still that's battle the walls right there as well is that tackle spot because you got three guys there, and then again I feel like Reese Trammell will also push for that. And then I don't know if Cameron Brannicky, the 6'5", 395 JUCO signee out of Navarro, will be in for spring or not. But again, I just watched that tackle battle. I feel like because I feel they had to be able to run to the outside more consistently than we did. That was too much of a boomer bust thing. We have to get to the edge, especially now that we have some speed back there. So again, that's something that I would keep an eye out on. Looking defensively, defensive line, again, Coach Sanders does fantastic work. That's a position I'm not concerned about. Obviously, you're losing two of the best defensive linemen I've had the pleasure and honor of watching in use their uniform, Robert Fuentes and Michael Slater. I'm again because you are returning Hunter Largent, you are returning Mike Pope Jr., who had a breakout season, the absolute beast. You're returning Julius Coates again. If we get the Julius Coates we got last 4 or 5 games, that's an all conference guy right there. Just again, absolute beast when he's on. I still have hope for Vaca that he can show what he showed off that out of that tape when he came out of Poto, and then should have a healthy Zane Adams out of high school. I know he was hurt off and on last year too. So and you were there in 2021, you know how good Zane Adams was. So I'm not too worried about the front line. I'm just more so worried about the rotation now because I said Mike Pope should be a starter now. And then Julius Coates, I imagine. Well, they do run that. Well, it depends because they kind of mix it up between a 3 and a 4 man front. So you losing two rotational guys that would have to start. So I'm curious to see how the depth is looking like. I'm really interested to see two young guys here first. Zachary Stillwell out of UConn, the redshirt freshman. The brother of Tyler Stillwell, who was an all-conference offensive lineman, fantastic offensive lineman. With Zach, I was impressed by that. I think it was a spin move that he had. He had a really high motor. I just felt like he needed to get stronger some. So I'm really curious to see if he can work his way in that rotation. And then I also want to see if Montreal Kozar out of Bishop Kelly, the man that had like 140, 50 tackles as a junior playing D line. Because I know he was coming off a torn ACL. So I'm curious to see if how those two look, because they're going to be needed. Okay, they're going to be needed. And again, if you go back to signing day, um, Jeremiah Caesar, okay, he's going to push for playing time. I'm saying that right now. Going to push for playing time. I know they got Riker Thurber from Jinx by way of NEO in for early signing day. So I just would pay attention really to the rotation on the defensive line, because we know the past few years has just been fantastic defensive line play. I mean, they at times single-handedly got stops. So I'm not worried about Mike Pope and Julius Coates and those guys taking Michael Slater and Robert's place. It's just now finding the guys to then take Mike Pope and Julius Coates and company take their place in the rotation. So that's something that I would keep an eye out on when it comes to the defensive line. Then we're looking at the linebackers. Really, not much to really look at there, except for maybe who would take Jason Harris's spot since he graduated. Because you're returning Connor Johnson, again, all conference caliber guy. Blake Barone, different CAD tackling machine. And then you've got Noah West, who was the Cho Show Podcast Defensive Player of the Year. In my opinion, was robbed out of first team all conference. So I'm really curious to see who takes that spot. I would also keep a lookout on the JUCOs, Zion Bell and Chris Herben, see if they take the next step. I know sometimes it takes JUCOs a year. So keep an eye out on that. Also, keep an eye out on Jaden Mullen from Millwood. He's just had an injury plagued UCO career so far. So I'll keep an eye out on him. I also would keep an eye out on Marlo Hughes as well, because Jason Harris was a quality. To me, Jason Harris was all around linebacker. He was solid in coverage. Again, I felt Marlo Hughes 2019, before the collarbone injury, was the best coverage linebacker UCO had. I still think it's there. I know he just got beat out last year. We talked to Marlo. I still have faith in the man, because when he got in there, he did make the most of his reps. I think this is a guy I would watch closely. I really would, because he kind of fits more of the Jason Harris mold, than the others. And then I would finally keep a lookout on the red shirts there. Joey Haver out of Jinx and Jack Puckett out of Bigsby, especially Haver, because Haver to me was more of your coverage guy. And the Jack I think is just better in run support. And then I would also, I guess it kind of fits in linebackers, maybe a little bit in defensive backs. I would look at how Jonathan Mosley is used. Now, I felt like when he played closer to the line of scrimmage last season, it was a much better fit for him than a safety. I just feel like, because again, go back to that Washburn game when he played more in the box, and you will see a difference there. I know he had that pick, but I felt like he was more active, more aggressive when he was closer to the line. So I'm curious to see if that's something that they're considering, similar to how an offense they're considering using Peyton Summer fullback. I just keep an eye on that, because I think with his coverage skills, I really think he could thrive there. But then looking at the defensive backs, I mean, I think unless your name is Kobe Stevens or Dylan Buckheit, I feel like you got a lot to prove here, okay? Because to me, those are the only two I felt like really solidified their starting jobs. I think the rest, but let's be honest here. Again, there's been a lot, literally ever since Malik Walker, Colby Underwood, Daniel Ballman, Jakari Hunt, and O'Shea Harris, Dylan Buckheit, because Buckheit took Jakari's spot when he got hurt. walked off the field for the last time in 2019. The secondary has just not been the same. And so we know last year it was very inconsistent, very, very inconsistent. There were flashes though, right? Like Amonte Davis. I felt like he is tough because you put on was it Central Missouri? He had a good game there. I think it was Northwest Missouri. He had a good game. And Raekwon Wicks was hurt. They moved him back there. So I'm curious to see where he will be. Same with Kyson Murray Jr. Again, he had moments, but again, we just need more consistency back there. There's a corner they signed, Cameron Monahan, the freshman that I'm telling you right. Listen, if they he's got a great chance if nobody comes out of spring opposite Kobe Stevens there, because I'm telling you, Monahan is coming and he's coming in hot. So the guys, Kai Sean, we're here, Tavis McDonald as well, right? Amonte Davis. We just need to see more consistency because I thought the talent is there. I mean, you saw when they were on, they were on. It's just we have to be on for 11 games, not for 4 or 5. I'm also curious to see if Jamori Ray can take that next step. That remember he played a lot down the stretch, the freshman out of Union. I thought did really good. Put on that Kearney game. Kearney Tape had a really good game there. That's a guy I know Coach Adam McGuire was high on. I'm now seeing him play. I fully understand why. That's a guy I feel like could solidify a starting job. As a matter of fact, I feel like he should go into the spring with some confidence. Because again, when we talked to Kobe Stevens last year, he can attest to how tough it is playing as a true freshman corner in the conference. 'Cause it is just not easy. It's just not easy, and he was able to hold his own. I also thought that Jalik Lewis out of Denison also looked good in Spurs. He sort of had that pick six against Northeastern State. Uh, but I think those are two guys who probably get an extended look in spring. Also got to look at Makai Belt, the redshirt freshman out of Union. You recall I said he was like a spitting image of Trayvon Craig to me. Trayvon Craig is just unfortunately the man has run out of eligibility. I think Makai Bell could fill that role. I really do. The playing style was similar, and then um, Aaron Hamilton out of Awoka is another guy at safety. I don't know. He possibly could fill that Trayvon Craig role. Just look out at where they have him. But I'm really high though on the JUCO they brought in out of Los Angeles, Ray Walters the third at safety. This is a guy I really feel like is going to push Raekwon Wicks and Mosley back there because because when you put on that Ray Walters tape, you're seeing a tall, rangy guy, got ball skills. He's physical. He has all the tools that you want. And again, there's no knock on Raekwon Wicks because we know put on that Emporia tape, put on a clinic back there. It's just Raekwon's problem is staying healthy. And so, I don't know. Ray, to me, Ray excuse me, to me, Ray is better athletically, I think, than Raekwon is, but you can't overlook what Raekwon has done in the UCO uniform, the clutch plays that he's made, and the experience that has to count something too. I know he was a captain last year, so I'm just really curious to see how that battle goes. And then I mean, the final battle I would look at because kicker and punter is solid. You got two of the best in the conference, Nicky Goudeau and David Vargas. Again, I don't know what Swasu did to fumble the bag on David Vargas, but I greatly appreciate it. Would be who is the returners? Okay, we know last year day one it was Jamazol the fourth and Kevion Williams. That lasted for 3.5 quarters. Then they put Kobe Stevens back there, and he almost broke two kick returns. Then Kobe became the main returner again, almost broke a few more returns. I suspect he will still be back there until further notice. I am curious to see, however, who they have back there with him because I know I know Delso did some a few times, I believe. I know Dangerfield did. He was the main punt returner, and it just scared me because the man kept dropping punts. Um, so I know they use a variety of people back there as a second returner on kickoffs. I'm curious to see if Kavion can kind of reclaim that spot, because I feel like, again, you point at Westmore tape, the guy, he has the potential. I feel like Jaden Washington also could be really good in the return game as well. That's something I would look out to, would be who is the other returner. Um, especially who's going to be the punt returner, because I know they didn't have Kobe Stevens as the punt returner all the time. Instead, they kind of had Dangerfield back there too. I know they probably don't want to wear Kobe out too much because, like I said, he is the best corner. And there should be plenty of options back there for kick returner now. So just what I would keep an eye out on that. But overall, I mean, this to me, it's good we have less questions than we did this time last year. And it's also good that most of the questions is simply going to be who's going to rise above, because the competition now at the majority of positions is going to be fierce. I feel like this is a vastly more talented team than what we saw last year. You have to give the staff credit because they went out and they addressed and continuing to address deficiencies there. I think again, if the offensive line holds up, we see promises there. Okay, there's no reason why the offense cannot average at least 4 touchdowns a game. There's just no reason why that should not be the case. So again, the spring, somebody says start Monday the 27th. I think they all start at 3 or 3:30. I believe they're open to the public, and again, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday practices. Um, see what we're looking like at some point during spring. Maybe when we get through the halfway point, reach out to a few players, see if they want to come on, much like we did last year with Dante, and see what get a game. So that concludes the spring preview. Like I said, I'm really excited for it. I'm also excited to see how you are liking this new format here. Again, if it's not something that we want, we want to just stick to episodes, kind of like the weekly episodes being on Spotify. Then by all means, I can go ahead and do that. That's not that big a deal. Um, so just let me know, and again, be on the lookout Wednesday for another one-on-one. The second time we'll have a wrestler on because Trayvon Craig was a wrestler too. But the first time we have an exclusively a wrestler on, and I'm really looking forward to that because I think it'll be really, really good. So until that time, my name is Jonathan Goudeau, aka JG Smooth. I'll talk to you all later.